make an offer if I was to be okay with transitioning to play DB. And I
Right.
told him, I was like, that's not me. I'm a running back. That's just what I believe in. I think I could get it done here. Said, well, I'm not. It was like, well, I'm not gonna make this offer to you because that's what we would be making that offer for, is for you to be a defensive back.
Right. Today on the show, I have retired University of Louisiana at Monroe football star. He's a former football coach and now the director of development at the University of Memphis. Nate Brown is up next. Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Adams, and this is where we dive deep into the world of sports, talking with retired athletes, current athletes, and everyone that makes the sports world great. A quick reminder, if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, make a note, subscribe to the show wherever you listen or watch. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Audible, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. To learn more about the show, visit our website at 5thquarterpodcast.com. Now, grab your iced tea or your coffee. Get ready to be motivated and inspired because this is where the real stories are told. Today's guest, he's a former high school football standout from Burke Burnett, Texas, who went on to become a 4-year starter and team captain at the University of Louisiana at Monroe. Throughout his college career, he racked up multiple accolades, including the President's Award and all conference honors. Since hanging up his cleats, he's built an impressive career in coaching and athletic administration with stops at Grambling State, North Texas, Towson, and now the University of Memphis, where he serves as Director of Development. Today, we're diving into his journey from player to coach to administrator and the lessons he's learned along the way. I couldn't be more excited to welcome to the show Nate Brown.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It sounds great. That's really good. No, to say about that. I
Hey,
appreciate it.
no half effort here. I try to go all out for my guests. Okay. I always like to get started and with how we know each other. And we actually met obviously through the University of Memphis. And today I actually got to wear Memphis stuff. So we've met through the ambassadors and the donors and things like that over the course of this past year. So we have a mutual friend, Donna Humphreys. Give a shout out to Donna. She's like at every game, basketball game, football game. She's on TV. She's on ESPN all the time. So anyway, it's been really great to get you on the show. We've been trying to do this. I had to get you through football season. We'll talk about that in a second. And through basketball season, we won't talk about that. And just kind of, find out about your journey because it's really interesting. I love to hear people's stories and how they've moved through their life and the trajectory of like where they started and what they thought they were going to do and then how they end up. So, I'm going to take a breath now. So I'm you're so laid back today, and I'm like really hyper. Um, let's start off with just tell us a little bit about your current job. We'll get to all of that at later on in the show, but just kind of who you are today. Like, how would you describe yourself today, and then what your job is?
Ooh. Well, more than anything, just for me, my job, I'm a connector, I would
Oh,
say
that's a
that.
good one. Yeah.
And the reason of it is because anything that we can do for our student athletes and just in relation for the university, whether it's generating revenue, driving revenue, marketing opportunities, just other opportunities to try to get the university intertwined with the city.
Right.
There's a lot of things, a lot of hats that I
Yes,
wear currently. So they said it's better to I'll just give you the title director of development that deals with
that's
everything.
right.
So technically, I think that's the best way to do it. I'm a connector for the university, and then everybody outside that we're trying to bring into the mix, and not only those with businesses and things of that sort, but just our donors as well, and
Right.
alumni that we're trying to bring back to re-engage with and get them back involved with the program as well.
The re-engaging the alumni, I love that part of it. I really do because I feel like that for people that have lived here, because you did not grow up here, you're Texas born and bred. Okay, I
Yeah.
did 16-year stop in Texas, but I feel like the university has grown and spread and more people and more athletes come in that are not from Memphis. I think that connecting with the previous alumni has kind of gone, awry. And I think that it's really a good thing to bring those back, even the lesser known alumni. We bring back D'Angelo. Oh my God, what's his name?
Williams.
Thank you. We bring him back and other ones that are very high profile, and also in basketball too. But the lesser known people, I think that building those bridges too, and we can talk about that later. But I love that thing that you're a connector because I think that's a really good. Whether it is donors or student athletes or whoever, you are connecting them to each other and to the school, and I think that's and then past and present. That's also a connector.
Yeah, no, it's actually one of those things that's like it's a hidden gold mine per se,
Yes.
because whenever you're thinking about, those that actually care about the institution and the university, it's going to be the student athletes or the former student athletes, because there's a
Right.
lot of pride
Right.
that, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that was put into the university and building it to what it is today, so, that's an
Right.
untapped piece whenever you're talking about bringing in a larger base and connecting with more folks. And I think that for me, having the opportunity to do it on the football side, when I first started, when I actually first got here, I
Right.
thought that was one of the best projects I could have had. And it led to the Glenn Rogers, the senior, honoring him and then creating this app that I created. And it was so much that you can build off of. And then, like you said, I'm not from here, but I
Right.
realized that the people that you connect with here, they're about the city itself and the
Yes.
people that are in here, and they call everybody once you move here and you're great with them, they call you a transplant. So now you're here and they can say you can claim Memphis if you
that's
want.
that's right.
It's so I mean that's where all those student athletes, even though they're in other areas, they're in Texas, they're in
Mhm.
Atlanta, they're in Charlotte. To them,
Mhm.
they're like, oh yeah, I'm. They'll say I went to Memphis. I can say I'm from Memphis, but I love Memphis. It was like I love Memphis. So that has been something that's been consistent.
And that's just such a great message because I moved here in 1986 to go to college and grew up in a small little town 2 hours northeast of here. And for me, like if people ask me where I'm from, I say Memphis, even though I spent 18 years of my life in a small town 2 hours away. To me, I was raised here is pretty much how I describe it. How long have you been here?
All right, so I will be heading into year 5 in July. So
Oh my God.
we were very blessed. So I coached forever
Right.
prior to this side of profession here, and we moved every year to 2 years.
Yeah.
The longest place we ever stayed at, whenever I was coaching, was for 3 years.
Wow.
So for us to be able to get a little bit more established here, my wife, she loves her job.
Right.
She's consistently addressed how the professional piece for her growth, and then also with our son and how
Mhm.
he's progressing. She's more of like she wants to be here. She's not looking forward to going anywhere and things like that. Even though she knows I'm in athletics and we know that's always part of it,
Right.
but for us, it's been 4 or 5 years. It's a little different
Right.
because we've been here longer than the norm.
Sure.
But we
Sure.
both love it though. The people here, uh, the opportunities that I have, that she has, and just seeing our son grow. Our son was 5 months old whenever we moved here.
He's a Memphian.
Yeah,
He's a
he's now
Memphian.
4. That's why I said technically our son's gonna say he's from Memphis.
That's
So
right. That's
yeah,
right.
so since 5 months old, this is all he knows. He knows Memphis, and then he knows he'll go to Louisiana to see the in-laws at the end of the month in July, and then he knows he'll go see or his cousins, and then he'll go see my side of the family in
Right.
Texas,
Right.
in June and sometimes in July.
Right.
So,
Right.
Memphis is home for him. So,
So let's go. Let's talk about Texas. So I didn't practice the name of the town, Burke Burnett. Is that
oh
correct?
yeah, Burke
Okay.
Burnett.
So
Mhm.
where is it located in Texas?
All right, so a lot of people, they know Dallas, right? So
Yes.
Dallas, and if you go northwest, all right,
Got it?
and you're going up to where a lot of people know where the Red River is that
Yes.
separates Oklahoma and Texas. So you're
Mhm.
going northwest about an hour and some change outside of
Mhm.
Dallas. That's where you'll find Wichita Falls, Texas, and then
Yes.
Burnett is a suburb of Wichita Falls.
I'll have
And
to go look that up then.
it's unique. A lot of people, Burt Burnett, they don't necessarily know that it's one of the original oil boom areas.
Ah,
So
yeah.
you struck oil, like it's literally called Boomtown because
Right.
of where all the everybody was able to tap in and drill there. But Wichita Falls is really known. A lot of people know Wichita Falls because of Interstate 44 that takes you through Kansas and all that.
Mhm.
But more than anything, it hosts the largest tech base in the Air Force. Uh, so
Really?
so it's consistent changeover for airmen that come through and they learn how to fly there in Wichita Falls, and then they get their orders there, and then they get shipped out across the country.
I'll have to ask my brother. He was in the Air Force for 12 years and he
Yep.
knows
Yep.
everything about the Air
Yep.
Force.
Yep. Shepherd Air Force Base.
Yes, that's exactly. I've heard of that. So your son has a quite an interesting I call it a triangle. So he's got Texas, he's got Louisiana, he's got Memphis. Like there's three cultures that
Mm.
have some similarities but don't. But I think they all are basically gritty and just hardworking. So he's got a good base there.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping that we're hoping that he does take on the fact of how me and his mom operate. It's the work ethic piece, but then also, you know, not only the work ethic piece and just being social, but also, showing some
Mhm.
empathy and things like that. And
Right,
that's part of the program that he's in currently for like pre-K that he's in
right.
there. So it's I mean it's we're definitely proud, and we're praying that it definitely works out in that capacity that it makes it work.
So let's talk about those early years. What was young Nate like growing up in Burke Burnett, Texas,
uh
boomtown?
well no that's well no I was a big sports guy. That's how I had a lot of time that I invested in that other than just working. So my my regular days is I would work out in the mornings, and school was school, and then I would go to work. I worked at a movie theater for my entire time that I was able to work, other than whenever I was 15 and I was able to work at the commissary and bag for tips since I legally could
Okay,
not get
that
any.
is like such an American story right there, working at the movie theater and the commissary. Okay, that is
Yeah, I mean that was it, and that's what I had time for. So it was, so in high school I played football, played basketball, I ran track, and I power lifted. So I was consistently, and I was in a program called PALS, which was just
I
peer
know it.
assistance.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I mean, I was consistently doing things school wise and working out in that capacity. But then I wanted to get a job because I wanted to uh, purchase a vehicle for
Right,
myself. And
right,
so I worked at the movie theater and saved up my money and
right.
was able to buy me a vehicle my junior year in high school. So
Okay, so when did you pick up a football?
I picked up a football as soon as I was able to run. It seemed like that, or walk whenever my mom mentioned it. But last thing I can remember, I was at least I was probably like 5 or 6, and I was playing just in the front yard with a lot of cousins. It was
Right.
back in the time you throw the ball in the air, whoever catches it, you just gotta run and don't get tackled. And, and it was I got busted lips and busted chins. I have stitches everywhere. I've had stitches everywhere. So that when you're talking about football, it's been ingrained in me since I've been able to be mobile.
So then in high school, what encouraged you or what was the thought process to play the other sports?
Well, whenever we were introduced to this was with coaches there at
Right.
Berg. We were introduced to the other sports because it's still a small area.
Mhm.
In Texas, you do have a lot of small,
Yeah.
towns,
Yeah.
and whenever you're competing, you compete, the entire town goes. It's like a town, and with that, that means we just had a lot of athletes that were doing crossover sports. But also, I love to compete, and
Ah,
a content situation is like I didn't believe in, all right, I'm just gonna do football, just be great at football. No, I want to do it all. And I knew
right.
that I think it will all come, I thought it would all come full circle, which it did, to help me in competing in football. So whenever you talk about basketball, it just helped with certain skill sets that you can't necessarily get in movements, just focusing specifically on
Ah,
football. And then whenever you're powerlifting, that's obviously the focus on that is strength training and then
right.
training different muscles. And then, running track, that's a personal and self-motivating
Mhm.
situation
Right.
where you're constantly training. There's just there are just a lot of things. I mean, shoot, I played travel baseball whenever I was younger until I stopped after my freshman year of high school because I was doing too much.
Right. Right.
So
Um, funny little tidbit. Next time you see Coach Andre Turner, I
yeah,
had him on here. He actually was going to do baseball all the way up until he graduated, and he made a last minute decision to go with basketball.
that's funny because my mom is still frustrated to this day because I was actually a really good baseball player. And I was a center fielder and catcher.
Hmm.
And the opportunity for me to play was there, but I was too active and I was bored. So like it was just too slow for me.
Right.
And
No,
so
I
with
get that.
that, yeah, so with that, I just didn't want to play anymore because it just didn't do it for me.
No, I get that. I had a hard time. I have a hard time watching baseball like repetitively, the games. So you get into high school and you're like a freshman or a sophomore. Did you have a thought process about what you're going to do after high school? Had you already started thinking about that?
That was something that I was already thinking about. I wanted to go to college, play football, and then go move on and play professionally, right? So
Right.
it was a little bit easier for me because whenever I was playing in Little League, I always played up in everything that I was doing.
Hmm. Right.
So I already knew that I would have an opportunity to continue to play. And whenever I got into my freshman year in high school, it was actually pretty hard for some. It was pretty hard for some to accept the fact that I was a freshman that I think I played like 3 games, and then I got moved up to JV, and they played me
Right.
in 3 games there because I ran through JV side, and then I was on varsity as a freshman and started on varsity as a freshman. In my first game, I actually rushed for over 200 yards
Oh
my
my God.
my freshman year. So all 4 years of my high school career, I ended up playing on varsity. So I sort of knew where I was going to go
Right.
from there.
Right. So then you get into your senior year. What was the recruitment like? Were you getting recruited by colleges?
Yeah. So overall, I think I was like 26. I was like 26 or 25th, uh, like top running back in the state of Texas.
Right.
Um,
And Texas
and
likes their football.
yeah, and it was so I was recruited by practically almost everybody there except for the really large ones like didn't get recruited by Texas, did not get recruited by A&M. I was recruited by Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU,
Right.
SMU, North Texas, all those, and then
Right.
the FCS programs with Sam Houston and all them. Funny story, whenever I was actually getting recruited by TCU, so Des Bryant is actually one of my classmates. So we came out at the same time. We were at camp at the same time as well.
Okay. Tell me who he is because I don't
So
know.
so Des Bryant, everybody that is a Cowboys fan, they'll say Des Bryant like that was a catch. He was the one that made the catch against the Packers in the playoff game, and then they said
Okay.
that he dropped it or whatever whenever he landed in the end zone.
Okay.
and the ball came loose. But he went to Oklahoma State, was a wide receiver out there, and uh, she's a great competitor, and I mean, is a heck of a ball player out there. But yeah, he was with the Cowboys for a very long time. But we were both there, and I actually had an opportunity there at TCU, and they provided an opportunity for me to come play there, but they
Mhm.
brought up the fact because at that time I was a running back. They brought up that they would make an offer if I was to be okay with transitioning to play DB. And I
Right.
told them I was like, that's not me. I'm a running back. That's just what I believe in. I think I could get it done here. Said, well, I'm not. It was like, well, I'm not gonna make this offer to you because that's what we would be making that offer for is for you to be a defensive back.
Right.
And so I tell everybody all the time, I was like, I literally could end up going to TCU, but but me as a young guy, just making that decision. And plus, I was just confident in what I was going to do. But no, so the recruiting process was pretty hefty. It was very funny. So I did get recruited by Mike Leach out of Texas Tech. Uh,
Okay.
Um, but uh, but yeah, it was very fun and it was very unique. And being recruited by Texas Tech is how I ended up going to Louisiana Monroe. So
Really?
yes, ma'am. So it's very the guy that was recruiting me at Texas Tech, his best friend was the coach at Louisiana Monroe that recruited the area a little bit. And the guy at Louisiana Monroe was asking him where he could go. And the coach from Tech, he told him, he said, there's this kid out there that he already said he's not going to redshirt. He's going to go somewhere and play right now and he's going to be a steal because he's from a small he's like not a small school but a
Right.
smaller school in Texas.
Right.
So the guy came out and as soon as he mentioned coach so and so told me to come and see you and they had a chance to talk and connect and that's where I was like, all right, well, I had a chance to talk with them and I had a chance to go visit out there as well because
Right.
I'd never really gone there. And it honestly was, I was like, this is like perfect for me. It's Division I institution. I was going to get
Right.
a chance to go play. It's small enough to not, get into much trouble or anything like that, but it's big enough to still enjoy myself and have a great
Right.
experience.
Right.
So for me, it was pretty easy, and I was like, yeah, I was not going to sit in the back seat for anybody. I was not taking the back seat. So
So that's an interesting thing. And I love the confidence of that. And, some people could say, well, maybe you were just too full of yourself. But, a lot of times, and I see athletes, really good athletes, they have to have that self confidence in themselves or they cannot do what they do, how they do it. They have to have that.
Yes, yeah, it's everybody's like you're flirting between, confidence and arrogance and things of that sort. And that's
Mhm.
that's not necessarily the case. It's just I did have my goals. And
Right.
on top of my goals, I also believed in myself because I also know the work that I had put in.
Right.
And I know the work that I had put in, and I've also gotten results from that. You know,
Right.
and the biggest thing was I felt like I was doing things the right way, and I wasn't it wasn't one of those situations where I'm a terrible person, but I'm a great player. Like
Right.
that doesn't make any sense. So yes, I did feel that. I did feel that I was a.
Well,
I
and to and to argue with everybody out there that might be saying that, I think the fact that the Texas Tech coach referred you to his best friend, who is another coach, speaks highly of the fact that he saw that you were a good person and a good player. And that confidence gave him the confidence to refer you. So I think that that in itself speaks to your character overall. Um, Definitely that. Okay, so you make the transition from small town Texas to Louisiana. What was that first year like being on a college campus in Louisiana?
Well, so being on college campuses wasn't necessarily a surprise for me because we traveled so much,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right,
And the
right.
recruiting thing it sort of gets a little normal, and I had my best friend. So my best friend's sister went to Texas Tech as well. So
Okay.
I was out there a good bit, things like that. So that wasn't necessarily the shocker or something that was that had an effect on me. It honestly, it was the food. Uh, and I say that because
But
from Texas
that's true.
you got barbecue, it's smoked, whatever, things like
Right.
that, right? And the food is good, but it's the meat itself is the flavor and all that. Well, in Louisiana, it's like they season the stuff up, right?
Yeah.
And also at the time, it's all, it's all got a little kick to it. It's hot.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so my experience where I ended up going out in the summer, a month prior to school actually starting. And I remember I went to Popeyes and I'm like, man, I'm about to go get this two-piece fries, normal, what I always get.
Right.
I get up there to order and they say, okay, would you be okay with spicy? And I said, no, I'm good with mild. And they said, I'm sorry, like we ran out of mild. Wait, hold on. You have more spicy than you have more mild. And not gonna lie to you, whenever I ate it, I was like, I started eating spicy ever since then.
Yeah.
But just like the food, the experience in that case, and I didn't know anything about boudin, and
Yeah.
it's just there's and the thing is, I'm allergic to seafood. So I know, see, everybody's like, how are you out there? And
Oh
how'd you
my God.
I can smell it and all sort of stuff, but it's I'm allergic to it. But everything else, I mean, there's a lot. They got Cajun stuff, chicken. I don't think
Yeah.
people know what all that
They
these
don't. They don't.
concoctions that they come up with, and it is just that was the one thing for me, and I just don't think there's anywhere that I've been where it's just like the food is just it's everything. Love it, love it.
So on the same topic of food, when I moved from Memphis to Houston, Galveston has a lot of the Louisiana influence in it.
Mhm.
So you can get, some variations of the food there. But my biggest thing was the barbecue. I had never heard of brisket in my entire life, ever.
Wait, even being here and like even
Memphis, I'd never heard of brisket. And I moved to Texas, and my he's now my ex, but the guy at the time, we went to his in-laws in Austin, and they were smoking a brisket, and I'm like, what is a brisket? And they're like, it's, beef, and I'm like, well, you don't barbecue beef, you only barbecue pig.
oh my
i
wow.
just i just don't believe in that. So they're looking at me like I'm crazy. I mean, I like brisket. I've had some really good brisket. I still prefer pork barbecue. I still do. I went to this one barbecue place down just south of Houston, and I kept going there. And apparently, there were other people from Memphis in there too, and they kept asking for the slaw on the sandwich. And
Mhm.
the owner finally made a plate called the Memphian because so many people were asking for the pulled pork with the slaw on it. And he got tired of because he was charging extra for that stuff. So yeah, but that was my big thing. But I can see how, you're from, like, I consider it North Texas above
Mhm.
Dallas, and
Yes,
you go
yes.
to Louisiana. There is a huge food difference.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was a great experience though.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, you're not only getting, the Cajun food and the recipes and things like that. I mean, soul food is still pretty good there
Yeah.
too. Like it's just everything.
Right. Right. Who knew this was going to be a food episode, right? This is making me hungry. Okay. One last thing. So, favorite place in Memphis to eat, or favorite food in Memphis?
Okay, all right. So so I am actually like a foodie, so I go a little bit of everywhere and eat
That's
at all
okay.
places.
That's okay.
So it really depends on what I'm doing, what I'm looking for, like sort of in the mood there
Right.
situation. So people ask me like, "Hey, where do you like to go to get barbecue out here?" Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them I like to go to the original Elwood Shack that's off Summer. Okay.
Okay. Never been
That's
there.
so good. Okay.
Okay.
Then people ask, well, what's your thoughts about just going to a place, decent food, like breakfast, brunch time,
Mm-hmm.
you think is pretty good? Well, my suggestion is the liquor store that's off Broad.
Okay.
Very good. Brunch
Okay.
is very great.
Is that an actual liquor store for those wondering?
So It's not an alcoholic store.
No.
It is a legit restaurant. It's actually, I think, is Venezuelan based.
Oh,
And then whenever you go in, they do have a bar and things of that sort of.
right.
They have a fair amount of tequilas, so
Okay. Okay.
it's a nice spot. It's the food is really good though.
Well, that's our episode of the Food Network today. For all the everybody's like really hungry now. Okay, so you're playing college football now. What was the hardest adjustment from high school football to college football for you?
Uh, Honestly, I think it was probably like the speed.
Mm,
There were more guys that can run me down.
mhm.
Um, and they were just you're talking about speed and size. Like I think that was the biggest difference. And then it's just picking things up.
Right.
You it just happens a lot faster. And everybody is good. Everybody is good.
Everybody.
So I had a chance to see that and then I started to understand, okay, this is why they were saying that they were going to redshirt me and all
Right.
that other stuff. And
Right.
but I'd say that was the biggest thing for me was just the speed. And you saw the size. I was a smaller kid coming out initially. So um it was definitely would have been to my advantage to redshirt if I had a chance to.
Right. Oh, that's interesting because I think that some kids don't always understand that aspect of it.
Oh,
Um,
no,
yeah.
that is correct. While I was
Yeah.
coaching, it was hard to
Yeah.
have kids understand that it was like, "I'm signing you right now because I know you could be a player for us, but you're not gonna be a guy that's gonna be for me right now, but you're
Right.
gonna be a dude for me, here in the next coming years," and that's where the development piece comes into place.
And I think that that's the case for I think so many student athletes. They're wanting that immediate action and everybody develops differently. And also if depending on where you went to school and what the coach did and all those kind of things, you don't necessarily develop physically or skill wise at the same speed as everybody else.
Right.
And I think that student athletes need to not rush so much to try to get to the pros, which think seems to be the case even from high school on. They just want to get there. Because let me tell you, adult life is not easy.
You just don't make it here until you're forced to get here.
I know, right? I would love to be back in high school right now or back in college. Um, paying rent, paying mortgages, this is not fun at all.
It's just it's me and my wife were talking about it the other day. Uh, just don't understand, don't know how, but we were just living and thriving in our lives in college while making no money.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, right?
So how is that even possible and doable? So I
Uh,
mean, this.
I'll have to have you come back on for another episode of like college life or something.
Oh,
We can swap stories on that or financial things or whatever. Okay, so what was the easiest thing about playing college football?
mm, I think so. Some people may think I'm crazy, but the time invested, that was like very easy for me because
Oh,
I loved ball.
right.
I love ball and I love ball and I love my boys, like just hanging out the
Yeah,
locker room and stuff. So that is it was easy for me. I we lifted in the mornings. I'd go to class, then I get back and I would be there in the training room just to make sure I take care of myself before meetings start. And then
right,
afterwards, then I'm hanging out. But I spent majority of my day over there, if I'm not watching something or just talking ball or doing something.
right.
It was yeah, the time invested was easy for me.
Well, that's again, I don't think that that is the thought process for a good portion of student athletes. It goes back to that, they just want to do it and go on. Or at least from around here, I see a lot of the high school athletes that kind of take that mentality of they play for social media likes, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, it's a whole nother another thing there. So so was there ever a moment in college where you questioned whether or not you should be playing football?
that actually came about my junior year. It was my redshirt junior year.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I had a red shirt because I had a medical shirt. My true freshman year against Texas A&M, I ended up tearing the front and back of my
Oh,
labrum.
okay.
So I had complete shoulder reconstruction and whatnot. So I was able
Oh
to
my
get a
God.
medical shirt because it was like the fourth or fifth game of the season, and it was season injury or
Yeah.
season ending, yes,
Yeah.
injury. So my red shirt junior year, my Achilles and lower part of my calf was like
Hmm.
partially torn or something like that.
Oh my God.
It was some weird stuff, and I had a really tough junior year. I was on and off starting, and just at that time I was also battling, and every now and then it was a true freshman or a
Hmm.
retro freshman where he was starting or I was starting. So that makes you wonder if you could still do it and
Right.
stuff like that. And
Right.
I was like, well, I was graduating as well, so just the injured piece, and I was like, I can't even keep my spot. And
Oh,
so I was like, is this, am I done? And I may just, see what it looks like professionally. Because during that time, my thought process was I was going to be a strength coach.
right.
So, well, all that stuff changed too. So there's a lot there. But yeah, that was that time whenever I just didn't know if I was still able to compete per se.
Right.
And yeah.
So did you want to go into the NFL draft? Were you trying to go there as a junior and a senior, or did that kind of change your thought process?
So I guess to do a little bit more context, I was also disappointed in myself because the way I got hurt, uh,
Mm,
because I could have came out my redshirt sophomore year, and I had one that was like one of my best years, and
right.
uh, with that opportunity, I'd sort of felt that, oh man, I went back, I'm here, and then now everything is done.
Right.
So I was like, well, maybe this is a sign, and I'm not going to continue to compete. I don't know. And I really didn't know where I was going until probably, I think it was like our last two games of the season.
Hmm.
And that very last game, they sort of needed me to do something and play a position I ain't played in forever. And it was all different and unique. And so I think my dad mentioned at some point in our conversation, he said, well, if you're sitting here down it, then that means you're not ready to just step
Mm,
away.
that's true.
Uh, if you have any questions or doubts, then that means you still need to figure this stuff out. You haven't
Right.
came to a decision. So then I went back, and honestly, my senior year was one of my good years. Not as good as my sophomore, but
Right.
it was fulfilling, and I was able to make my choice and my decision. All right, I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna take my shot. And once I take my shot, if it doesn't work out, I'll be okay. And I already getting myself set to move forward and to be successful in some capacity.
Right. Right. So did you take a shot at the draft?
Yeah, so I did my pro day,
Okay.
um, competed in my pro day, and then I had some private workouts with the Browns, the Saints, and the Cowboys and the Eskimos in the CFL,
Okay.
and the BC Lions.
Okay.
So had my workouts there, things like that. Didn't quite work out, and since it didn't work out, I ended up getting a phone call to help with our women's basketball strength and conditioning there at ULM. And the
Okay.
reason why I was able to do that was because my intern for my undergrad, I was uh, I was working with them in some other sports, and so they knew me, and I had already written the workouts prior to, so they were very familiar to me. While the head guy that was originally there, he got moved over to football because football strength coach went to go coach in the NFL.
Okay.
So that was sort of how I just, oh well, you know what? It didn't work out for me. I need to find a way to get something done. And then they also provide the opportunity to pay for my school for my second degree and my master's. So
Right.
went ahead and made the decision a lot easier afterward.
And from a lot of the athletes that I've talked to on here, that decision to and I'm going to do air quotes for people that are listening, to retire from
Oh,
competition. It's not always easy. I've had one guy on here who talked about he just kept waiting and waiting and waiting for a phone call. And 6 months in, his uncle said, I don't think that phone call is going to come. He was waiting for, a pro team. I think he was a football
mhm.
player. And, others that, they had horrible workouts and then they couldn't find a job and they didn't know what to do. Like there's been a lot of those. I find that the women always have plan B because plan B was actually to play pro. Plan A is the degree and a job. And it's the opposite with men.
Yes.
Um, and I think, I feel like I could do a dissertation after I've done all these interviews because it's been very enlightening. Um, but the thing is, yours was kind of okay, and you already had, I think, that mindset that I'm going to do this, I'm going to give it my all. If it doesn't work, and then this opportunity presents itself, and you're like, okay, I think that's a smooth transition. But mentally, how hard was it to stop playing football and go to a regular job?
Oh, now that that's different. That
Mm-hmm.
is different because your your mentality has to change drastically.
Yes.
The reason why I say that is because we were so okay, I finished playing the season or whatnot, and I am preparing for pro day and things of that sort.
Right.
All that's great. Well, that time frame where people don't tell you about, if you're not a top 10, 20 draft pick or something like that, majority of the time, nobody's going to be paying for you to do all kinds of stuff
Yeah,
to train.
exactly.
So I was working at a normal job at Forever 21 in stocking and shipment. Okay. And when I tell you, it was so boring and
Yeah.
so slow and so redundant and just, but there was nothing to get my blood flowing or no type of competition it's just, I was like, I told myself I was back there stocking and I was trying to make something out of it by trying to put the heaviest stuff up just to work out or something.
Right.
And I told myself, I said, I am never going to work a normal job ever in my life.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I cannot do this. And, you know, and then realizing it's like that's what, like, you missed that.
You do.
You miss the challenging piece. Like, it's, you have jobs and things that challenge you, but it's, we always operated differently when you're competing as student
Right.
athletes. The challenging piece from uh how you're challenged, how you're going to approach that challenge, and the pace that you're attacking that challenge, whatever it is. But I mean, shoot, it's even to, you know, transitioning from the coaching side to this side of the administration, the coaching, we're a little bit more aggressive as a coach
Right.
and how we approach things and how we say things. And I get over here and it's you cannot do that.
No, you can't.
You gotta take steps back. You have to work more horizontally than to work vertically. In this,
Right.
in the coaching world, it's like, this is what this is. You have to get this done because you will get fired if you do not. It's going to be on you.
Right.
So it's just different. But that was very hard. Mentally was uh making that adjustment from how I competed and how I operated every day of my life until
Right.
I was just boom, it's just stopped. So yeah, that one was tough.
That's been a common theme. I've had several football players on here, and they've really talked about that. I had one guy went to Miami University in Ohio, and he
Mhm.
talked about how he's like, this is going to sound bad, but I missed hitting people because that let my energy get out.
Oh
And
yeah.
he struggled with like the exercise, how to find an exercise that could actually kind of fulfill that void a little bit. And so for you, how did you do with your exercise going from this very structured exercise regimen to basically none unless you do it yourself?
So just, if you're speaking about me and just like my living and exercise and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So So that stuff is very intense. That's correct. Now what I honestly, again, it's just about my thought process and
Right.
how my body is feeling and stuff. I still do I still do a consistent regimen,
Mhm.
a workout regimen, but it's for my body though.
Right.
So as I finished and I finished playing and I was done and all that structured stuff, for us, we would still be because it's habits. I still worked out,
Right.
not as intense, but I still worked out and then now I'm older, so I still have what I do and I'm not working out 5 days a week.
Right.
Went from 5 to 4 in my late 20s and now I'm in my late 30s and now I'm down to 3. Uh, it's what's good for me. You used to work out for 2.5 hours, and then it went to 2 hour and a half. And now
Right.
I'm like, if I hit 50 minutes, then I'm just like, nope, I need to go ahead and take it in. But no, but the schedule piece and then your body and gets it going and things
Mhm.
like that. That is something that I mean, I think it's a drug for us athletes.
Well,
It's something
sure.
it's something that it just gets us going. And everybody wonders, like, I get up at 5, I work out 5:15, I shower and everything, get all that
Mhm.
stuff done by 6:30, and then I'm rolling like my
Right.
day. It's
Right.
that's because that's just how I've operated from a student athlete to now.
It's ingrained in you.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do.
Right. We had I had one lady on here. I think she's the assistant athletic director at Georgia Tech or Georgia State. I can't remember. She was a track person, and she said she got to a point where her body was having withdrawals because she was not working out.
It,
And she
so
had to put that back in because it was hard for her.
so there was a stint where I didn't necessarily work out much, and the
Mhm.
withdrawals piece is like I could feel my body falling apart.
Right.
If I moved a certain direction, I would feel, oh man, I'm about to pull that. How am I gonna pull that? Or you
Uh,
start to realize you're getting all these knots and stuff. It's
Right.
you don't recognize the upkeep and everything that you're doing with your body until you're not doing it. Um,
Mhm.
and then I always heard the older guys and things like that, they would tell us, "Hey, you're working out, just never quit. Like, just don't quit.
That's right.
Keep doing it." And I was like, "Man, I ain't gonna keep doing this intense stuff like this." But it's just about moving your body.
It is. It is. So let's talk about the leadership role for student athletes and how do you empower student athletes, whether you've been a coach or in administration now? How do you empower them to lean into their leadership skills or to even see that they have leadership skills?
Oh yeah. So I'll give an example on the coaching side, and I'll give one on this side.
Okay.
So coaching wise, I remember I had a young man that he was a starter. He was at North Texas. He was a starter as a sophomore and a junior, sophomore, junior, senior. He was starter as a freshman,
Mm-hmm.
and when I got there, I had him. He was still starting as well, but for him, he didn't have much guidance at home or a father figure. So he
Right.
was raised by a young lady, and for him, he didn't understand the influence that he had on everybody in the room, which the influence was actually the credibility and also the growth in his production and his play.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout the season, I would always ask him what he thought everybody else was paying attention to in his perspective, right? And
Right.
the reason of that is because it would also help him realize that he has to continue to pay attention to the decisions that he's going to make or what he's going to say, and then also how he's going to show um, the progress or what we're supposed to be doing and things like that to everybody else in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to give him that way to empower the goals that he can set to help move the room forward, but then also where I made sure that he understood once you finish playing, this is not going to do anything but help you understand how you can recognize the space that you're in to help you become more successful. So where you do have the ability to stop, think, and once you pay attention to your surroundings and what can you do to grow and point out certain things, it's all it is just as you could be successful, but when you want to be more successful, then you
Right.
have to find a way to learn and recognize and realize that stuff. And sometimes people just don't do it. They're just in one spot, and that's really it.
Right.
So they're successful, they're in one spot. But how can you grow and learn? And that was just one way for them to continue to touch base with it and be like, oh, okay. And then you can move them forward from there. So that was the coaching side. Uh,
Okay.
let's see here. Uh, on this side, it's a little different. I'm not as hands-on. I'm
Right.
somewhat a little bit more separated. The opportunities I have on my side here, trying to empower them and trying to develop into these leadership opportunities, well, I can have an effect on when we're talking about the alumni, bringing them in and re-engaging them. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
create a professional development program here for the University of Memphis for the football program.
Right.
So we have a spring series every Wednesday. We're going through teaching them how to be a father and a husband and financial responsibilities and how to maximize your funds and investments or being able to go through interview processes, certain questions that are asked, how to navigate that space during particular times. There's
Right.
so we're doing all that, and then at the end of it, we always have this thing called a networking night, uh,
Right.
and that networking night is solely all these former players from the university, and then those that are outside in that we try to bring in if we don't have somebody in that profession. So we give them that opportunity to do that there, and so for me, giving them that opportunity to make that connection, like you said, and sort of change the mindset,
Mm-hmm.
as in, yes, you want to go play professionally, but if none of that works out,
That's right.
you already know that we built these relationships to where once you finish, you have the chance to move into a job field or an area somewhere in that space to where you can start moving towards a real, I hate to say it like this way, but a real life.
Right. No, you're right. No, you're right. You're
um,
absolutely right.
so we provide them these opportunities, and I think that's my way right now of trying to empower them and get into these leadership roles to help them move into that space and then grow from it from there. That's the best thing I could do in that.
You know, out of almost every, because you'll be episode number 68, out of the majority of the episodes, that's the one reoccurring topic is the benefit of networking, and I can't say that enough. These kids, these student athletes, they need to be talking and introducing themselves to
Mhm,
anybody that they can meet,
mhm.
because that goes a long way, especially when you're a student athlete, because all of these business leaders, they all really like take pride in that. And Memphis is a small enough town that everybody knows everybody, and
Yep.
just having that opportunity there, and whether you're in sports or not, networking is the best single thing that you can do. Best
Yep,
one.
and the sports is what's bring it just brings those opportunities.
It does.
So for us since we have it's it's easy for me whenever I'm going to speak to some businesses and things of that sort. It's so much easier for me to connect everything whenever I say we would love to see if y'all have some type of programs or something
Right.
that will help with our student athletes that y'all would be willing to work with. And
Right.
they always want to get involved with student athletes. Well,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
but we also want to make sure that this is providing them opportunities. Like if we can, let's try to find a way to get a relationship to where once these kids are done, they could reach out and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we have something where we continue to work
Right.
with these students in and things like that. Like, let's do something."
Right. No, I absolutely agree with that, because sports is going to end eventually. Playing sports is going to end eventually. You don't know when that's going to be. and
Mhm.
you've got to start making yourself as well-rounded as possible going into your next phase. So let's talk about you won the President's Award twice.
Yeah, so so it was me because I was a starter, and also I was maintaining above a 3.5 GPA or something like that while I was also part of SAC. So
Mhm.
it's just I think I was selected by some people on the athletics staff. So I really don't know. I just know that I got presented with the stuff, and I was like, okay,
Okay,
thanks.
cool.
It
um,
sounded good.
so out of your coaching career, what are you most proud of? If you could name, like, can you name one thing that you're most proud of out
The
of your
fact
coaching?
that the fact that my former players still reach out to me to this day,
Ah, yes.
that's by far the best. I have several that will call and just say, "Coach, I was just touching base because I was just thinking through this and I'm just trying to get some ideas." And that means more to me than anything because whenever I recruited every one of them,
Mm-hmm.
and not only recruited, but whenever we would finish up and I would move them on or whatnot, the whole conversation was about my job is to provide them the opportunity to compete at the next level. And when I say that, that's me. It's me coaching you up. That's me preparing you, and then you got to do that work. But I'm doing my job to present that opportunity to you. But the most important thing is to provide the opportunity to help you be successful in whatever you do to where you can take care of yourself and your family.
Right.
I said, those are the two promises I make, and I will stick to that. I will always provide those opportunities. I've never promised, and I will never promise that I will get you to the NFL. That is
No,
not what
no.
I do. So everybody's always like, well, what about the NFL guy? Oh, yeah, that's great. Like I had one of my guys call me, he was in the line at Chicken Express and he got called by the Browns and they were drafting him. And then he called me and I was like, well, I mean, congrats. Like this,
Yeah.
so I don't know what else to say, but for him to want to call, like that's the best thing. That's the best thing for me, you know. And it was before we had our son, my wife. We didn't have kids at the time, but they all call my wife Miss B. Like
Oh,
so so we took a lot of pride in that. We had yeah, the guys around all the time.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So, one last question, then we'll go into the very end because I got to get you off of here. How has moving into administration, has it changed your perspective of football overall?
Being in administration has changed my perspective for almost everything. So, and I say that because there's a lot of stuff that you do not realize,
Yes.
the strings that are attaching to everything and how stuff operates. But with my perspective on football, it does help me show how one, how people can see how people can see the sport and also those that are involved in the sport, the aggression piece,
Hmm.
and the pace. Now I have a better understanding in that perspective there. Um, you know, and then also it's helped me learn. It's helped me learn a lot about you have people in spaces. Like
Hmm.
when they're in a particular space, this is what it looks like. They're in this space, this is what it looks like. While I was coaching and while I was playing, you're only within that space.
Right.
It's just like, they're talking about, hey, all this chaos that's going on, and you're in it. Like you're not going to be able to really see everything until you just
That's
take a
right.
step outside and see what's going on. So I've learned a lot of things that's very beneficial and interesting. That's for sure. That I think that's not only helping me or whatnot, but gives me the opportunity to connect with some of my former colleagues in the
Mhm.
coaching profession because they ask questions. Well, why can't we do this? I was like, well, this is why you can't do this, my guy.
That's right.
I understand how frustrated you are, but you can't do this because then it's going to look like this, and then it's gonna start a trickle down effect.
Yes.
And well, this is just my thing. I was like, well, you know what? In order to get to your thing, there are things that still have to get done.
That's
So
right. That's right.
it's yeah, it's been
Me going from being just a basketball fan to working with the rebounders, my perspective got changed as well. I don't necessarily
Mhm.
work with athletics in administration, but you start seeing a lot of the inner workings behind the scenes. And sometimes I'm like, I just wish I could go back and just be just an ordinary little old fan and not worry about all that stuff. Um, but yeah, it does. It gives you. It's like going from being an employee to a manager to an owner.
Yes.
You're getting so many different perspectives. Um, if you could go back and you had a chance to go back and talk to 9-year-old Nate, talk to yourself, what would you say to 9-year-old Nate?
Oh shoot, we hit it earlier. Be patient. Don't run to get out of the house. That was my whole thing. I was I was ready to graduate and I was like, I just can't wait to graduate and go. I was ready to grow up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was ready to grow up. It's just there's so much to learn. There's so much to learn
There
just
is.
just yeah, man. Just be patient.
Enjoy life. Enjoy life.
Enjoy.
Um, okay, so what do you I think you kind of already answered this, but what do you see as your biggest value to others today?
My biggest value to others today, man. You know, I think my biggest value, I think that everybody that you do speak to as well, especially those that probably younger as well, I'm big on paying it forward. Um,
Mm,
my experiences and my experiences are very unique and different, and
right.
I think that's where the value comes in there. Uh, but I think majority of it's just that paying it forward piece, having the opportunity to help guide a little bit.
Right.
Also, an understanding with that guidance piece, they also know I'll be like okay, and then sort of let them get that experience. And you just, you help them out after that. But also that's the thing though too is paying it forward, give them a little guidance, but then also they're moving on their own too. So, but you're here, you're there to help them move along. Never
Mm.
static. So, uh, I think or stagnant. So I think that may be my value, other than just a connection piece. I think that would be it.
I like that. Okay, so where can people connect with you on social media?
Oh, yeah, so I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't do much social media.
That's okay. That's okay.
Twitter is the only thing where I may end up being on every now and then. But at UN Brown.
Okay.
It's really but I'm bad at that. I'm not gonna lie to you. My wife is the person that if people want to know what's going on with me, they follow my wife. That's they've all I mean, family and everybody.
That's funny. But I see, because your job is very demanding. It's not like it's an 8 to 5 job, right? Okay. Or
Yes.
Monday through Friday. So I get that. So guys, I'll put that on the screen and in the show notes. So thank you so much for doing this today. I so appreciate it. This has been fun. Got to talk
No.
a little food, a little football. Texas made me a little homesick for Texas, just a little bit. But thank you so much for doing this for me today.
No, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on, and, hopefully, it's not too bad of a job, and hopefully everybody enjoys.
Oh, they will. They will. Thank you all for watching and listening today, especially if you've made it all the way to this part of the show. I appreciate all your support. Another reminder to subscribe to the show wherever you listen or watch. My mantra is like, share, and review. Follow us on social media at 5THQRT Podcast. Until next time, remember, change is our ally and it paves the way for greatness. Stay inspired. Have a great rest of the week.